Good evening, I'm Scott Sanborn. Welcome to this Show You Care special honoring 9 extraordinary people. All of them are volunteers who give their time and talents to make eastern Iowa a better place to live for all of us. We begin tonight with a volunteer who's helping kids blossom into bright adults. TV9's Lori Johnson introduces us to our first 9 Who Care Award winner.
Do you know why you put them into the smaller boxes?
This greenhouse at the Brimwood Lutheran Children's Home in Waverly doesn't resemble a schoolhouse, but there's a lot of learning going on. Principal Daryl Dirks is teaching troubled teens how to garden. Some call it green thumb therapy. Kids call it fun.
Like we're saving the earth and stuff, like we're helping out the earth, and like it makes me feel like really good inside.
This former farmer is making a difference in a lot of lives. Many of these students are victims of all kinds of abuse, and they couldn't succeed in a traditional classroom setting. They need a special person like Daryl to handle their special needs.
Well, we've had a lot of kids feel good about themselves, self-image. We've made a difference in the community.
Daryl dedicates countless volunteer hours to the gardening program. The program doesn't only cultivate a sense of pride in these students, it lets them learn by touching instead of a teacher telling them.
The kids may not know it, but when they're counting out germination times, they're learning science. When they're making change at the farmers market here in town for the public, they're learning math. They're learning social skills. They're learning all these in just a unique way.
In several weeks, students will transform this snow-covered field into a lush green garden. These are some of the pictures from past years. The students also make money at the farmers market, and that's something Terrence Amerson looks forward to.
It's real fun.
What's so fun about it?
We get to talk to people, learn how to count money, and sell things, how to be a good customer, how your customer be a good role model.
Daryl is the first one to tell you he couldn't do it alone. Everyone at Brimwood makes a difference.
I really feel this is a recognition for everybody that volunteers at Brimwood or other places. It is so neat that there are so many people out there trying to make a difference with kids, and that's what's rewarding.
Lori Johnson with that special profile. For thousands of Dubuque families, Thanksgiving wouldn't be the same without the love and help of Donna Ginter. TV9's Dubuque reporter Ryan Girding introduces us to the woman behind Dubuque's biggest Thanksgiving dinner.
Bet you don't use a megaphone at your Thanksgiving dinner. Well, Donna Ginter has to because she has more than 1,000 mouths to feed. Every year, Donna puts on Dubuque's biggest Thanksgiving feast for some of Dubuque's less fortunate.
I do it because of my family, my help, and all the wonderful volunteers that I have in this area.
It all started 36 years ago with a small Thanksgiving dinner for 6 people. Every year, more people showed up until Donna and 275 volunteers fed 500 people at the Knights of Columbus Hall and delivered meals to 1,000 shut-ins last year.
Because of the thank you notes that I get from the elderly people that are shut in, that cannot get out to do anything and don't get no meals delivered, and it's just, and the telephone calls I get from the people thanking me.
I'm thankful for people that volunteered and somebody that has a big heart like she has to serve us that are unfortunate.
One of Donna's volunteers, Al Less, nominated her for the 9 Who Care Award.
She deserves it. If anybody deserves a Channel 9 Who Cares Award, it's her. She's done it for 36 years, and it's one way of paying her back for it.
It makes you feel good that you can help someone else, because there's so many people in need, and if you can help somebody else, it just makes your day.
Donna serves as a source of inspiration for the volunteers, too. Every year, more and more of them come out, and every year they get something out of each meal, too.
She's just a wonderful person, has done a lot for the community.
And she'll keep doing it for a long time to come.
So don't forget me next year. Right. And God bless you.
Thank you, Donna. Our next 9 Who Care Award winner retired in 1991 after working 35 years at Rockwell. But as TV9 sports director John Campbell shows us, Harry Killipper's work continues at an eastern Iowa high school.
Take it. You pass it, don't pass it up like that. Get it over your head and pass it. Or down like this, pass it, okay?
Okay.
Take it in. They're in the zone. Georgetown. Board it.
Never coached before, and I just got my coaching certificate, and I said, I can do that. Yeah. And I really love it as a volunteer. Yeah.
For 7 years, Harry Killipper has been a volunteer assistant coach with the Washington boys track team and the 9th grade girls basketball team.
She's here. She's right here. You got the ball. What are you going to fake? Which way are you going to fake? And drive to the basket.
Harry, he just seems to have a nice rapport with kids. I think kids understand that, you know, he's just here because he wants to be, because he wants to do things for them, and they seem to relate to him and like him really well.
You mentioned being around young people. You think that helps keep you young a little bit?
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, they come up with things that I have never heard of before.
Of course, Harry has come up with some things they've never heard of.
I show them how to shoot free throws underhanded like I did in high school.
Volunteerism infers no pay, but there are payoffs. Harry remembers the day he watched Jay Frazier win the Drake Relays long jump.
It's an outstanding feeling to be sitting in the stands and know he won and know that you've been part of trying to help him do that.
He also marvels sometimes at his 9th grade girls' pregame routine.
We go to a game and we see them. We're supposed to be out getting ready to practice, and they're putting their lotion on their legs. You know, I said, "How are you going to play with your hands all sticky or slippery?" You know, so I mean, it's something new every day.
Harry Killipper's volunteer efforts here at Cedar Rapids, Washington go well beyond just coaching track and girls basketball. He also spearheaded a fundraising drive to raise $300,000 to erect new lights in the baseball field and to install a new all-weather track.
I don't know if we could have done it without Harry. I'm really doubtful whether we could have. He made it about a half-time job for almost a year.
Harry did such a good job that the Washington softball people enlisted him to help upgrade their facility. That project, too, is almost completed. What's Harry Killipper going to do next?
Well, I'm sure Dr. Plagman or Denny Kettle will have something for me, and I'll be happy to do it. I love it. I really do.
Good job.
Good job indeed. Next, you'll meet 3 more special volunteers. We'll be right back.
9 Who Care, a TV9 Show You Care special, is sponsored by Hardee's, Yonkers, St. Luke's Hospital, and by United States Cellular.
Welcome back. One eastern Iowa man is sharing his love of the outdoors in a unique way. TV9's Mark Thomas introduces us to Joe Nillis, who's an inspiration for dozens of Camp Courageous campers, young and old.
I've always liked canoeing, and it's been fun down here sharing that with the campers.
Canoeing has become a lifelong passion for Joe Nillis. The 64-year-old John Deere retiree learned about Camp Courageous from his wife and decided he wanted to become a volunteer as an assistant canoeing specialist. Joe is in for a pleasant surprise.
I don't call it work. It's never been work. My wife asked me how many days you're going to be working. I said I don't go to work anymore. It's like people go out and golf. They enjoy golf, and I enjoy canoeing, and it's been great.
The thing that's incredible about Joe is he's such a soft-spoken, sincere individual.
Mike Fortman with Camp Courageous nominated Joe for the 9 Who Care Award.
You ask him about the hours that he volunteers out here, and he'll be quick to shrug it off and say, oh, it's really not that many hours, and he genuinely enjoys volunteering.
Joe says the campers make it all worthwhile.
They've always been happy and thankful when we get back or when we get done canoeing and get back to the camp. You get the biggest smiles and the thank yous, and it's fun. I enjoy it and they enjoy it. I don't need anything else, you know, because I've had a perfect day.
Another word people use to describe Joe Nillis is dedicated. Turns out during the summer months, he drives here to Monticello to Camp Courageous 45 minutes each way from his home in Dyersville. Joe also went through a lot of training to work at the camp. from getting certified in CPR to receiving his commercial driver's license so he could drive the camp's bus. He does it all for the campers.
Joe interacts with them. It's just incredible. You would think that he had been trained for years how to deal with people with disabilities, and everything that Joe does is just coming right from the heart, and it's just fun to watch.
I've been rewarded every day that I've come down here to Camp Courageous. So this is just a big plus, and I thank them for it.
And Camp Courageous thanks Joe Nilles. Lois Noring is another caring Eastern Iowan. Lois learned she had breast cancer 11 years ago. And as TV9's Kelly Schultz tells us, Lois turned something bad into something good.
First diagnosed, and the fact that you'd never thought it would happen.
Lois Noring and her friend Julia Benda have a lot in common. Both women know what it's like to have breast cancer and survive it. In 1987, Lois learned she had breast cancer. In 1994, Julia learned she did too. Lois was there when Julia underwent surgery and chemotherapy.
She was extremely supportive, and the first time I actually met her was the day of the surgery, and I was already in pre-op, had my little hat on, and IV's going, and all of a sudden I hear out of nowhere, Julia Benda, and here she comes. And says, I'm here, whatever you need, I'm going to be beside you, and she has been all the way through it.
A couple years after Lois was diagnosed with breast cancer, she helped start a local support group called Especially for You. She also got very involved in an American Cancer Society program called Early Support that has breast cancer survivors talk to women within 24 hours of their diagnosis.
I said to the gals at the American Cancer Society, you know, we're missing the point here, because we're hitting these women after their surgery, and where they really need the support is from the time of that diagnosis until, till they've had their surgery, really. And that's when you have so many questions and so many fears.
Lois also got involved in another Cancer Society program called Reach to Recovery that helps women following their treatment. Lois retired from nursing in 1994, but you wouldn't know it by the hours she keeps helping women deal with breast cancer. Pat Overson is the director of hospice and cancer education at Mercy. She's also a friend of Lois's.
She dedicated herself, once she got through her initial treatment for her breast cancer, to doing everything that she could to assist other people that were dealing with cancer. You know, I think lots of people make those promises while they're in, a real scary situation. But Lois has followed through on that in such a tremendous and broad way that it's just unbelievable.
Lois learned she had a recurrence of breast cancer just last September. She had to undergo surgery and chemotherapy again. It was a reminder to her about the importance of support. She says she gives so much of herself because she gets so much back.
I found that so many people that don't keep busy just grow old. And I'm growing old, I know that, but it's really, there's so much satisfaction of giving of yourself, I think, so much more than anything material.
Words to live by, wouldn't you say? You get a double dose with the next 9 Who Care Award winners. TV9's Bruce Owney introduces us to Don and Sue Novak.
The Cedar Valley Humane Society can be a noisy place, but the dogs here know a good thing when they see it, and that is Don and Sue Novak. This Cedar Rapids couple spend a good share of their free time with the animals here, but this is only part of their volunteer effort. Don and Sue also give of themselves to hospice work, helping patients and their families cope with the realities of death. Their tireless, unselfish efforts benefit everyone.
We are helping place the animals in homes by carrying them, holding them, loving them, giving the attention they need so they will be better adoptable. For the hospice, what we get out of hospice is really a self-growing experience for ourselves, I believe, too.
Probably the most outstanding thing about them is that any free time they have, they spend it for the benefit of people or animals. And they will do anything. No task is too small, no task is too big.
While these tasks at the Humane Society are not easy, they are nothing compared to the emotional tasks of hospice. Don and Sue spend countless hours visiting patients in their homes, often in their final hours, always working as a team.
In your lifetime, people come along that you can call on and you know that they are going to be there for you. And Don and Sue are just some of those people.
It doesn't hurt us to take a few minutes out of our time to spend with someone who is dying or whose family can't be there when they are dying. It's the least that we can do for someone.
But Don and Sue don't stop there.
Isn't she so?
Yeah. Twice a month, they're also involved in pet therapy, taking dogs and cats to nursing homes and hospitals, adding moments of joy to people in their final years.
I think we get more out of volunteering than what we give. There's not only the self-satisfaction of helping people, we help ourselves.
A favorite phrase of Sue's is no problem. If you ask her to do something, she says no problem. Now, that may mean that she may have to rearrange their schedule and do 50 other things, but it's no problem.
Whatever the need is, our phone's available. We will, we'll come if we can.
They're so willing and so caring and so compassionate, and it just comes through in everything that they do.
Just ahead, 3 more outstanding volunteers. Stay with us. Welcome back. Our next Nine Who Care Award winner is Sandy Osterloh. TV9's Gerald Resnick introduces us to this young volunteer who shows she cares.
A little old woman.
A normal day in Linda Marmette's life skills classroom involves a little reading, a little eating, and a little horsing around. A normal day here strengthens an unlikely bond between 14-year-old Sandy Osterloh and 13-year-old Katie.
Katie's a really good person. I've learned, I don't know, she's kind of like a little sister to me.
For nearly 2 years, Sandy has fostered a sister-like relationship with Katie. Sandy started volunteering with special needs kids while at Prairie Middle School, and even now she makes a 4-day-a-week trip from the high school to work with Katie.
Before, she wouldn't really talk to me at all. I mean, she'd just go off to somebody else, the other people that were working with her, and now she spends a lot of time with me. When I walk in the door, she's all excited and everything.
She gives Katie the friendship that Katie needs to have, and in a way that it's a good role model. Sandy role models the best behaviors for these kids while she's in here, and they need to see that. I think the kids also need to see that someone from Sandy's background can make it this far.
Sandy's parents gave up their parental rights 7 years ago, and for the last 7 years, she has lived in group and foster homes.
Most kids who have come from a background like Sandy's with a lot of the problems would mostly be consumed with their own problems and their own issues.
Not Sandy. Sure, she deals with the same daily dose of teenage troubles, but Sandy deals with difficulties her friends do not. And she says she now knows people care about her, and she can care about others.
Some people say, why do you do it if you don't get paid for it? It's well, because money's not what's important. It's the fact that you care about somebody else. You're taking your time to spend time with somebody else. For me, I get self-gratification. I feel good about myself.
And that's something Sandy says other kids her age can learn.
I think that she's overcome a lot to get to the point she's at, to be able to give of herself to others.
You can overcome the problems and move on and be a healthy person, yeah, and give back.
Volunteering is all about giving back. And it isn't just for the young, it's also for the young at heart. TV9's Wendy Brown introduces us to Eve Stainbrook, a woman who has touched many lives.
Eve Stainbrook knows what it takes to make someone's day. A ride to Eve's beauty shop in Fairbank, a fresh hairdo, a cup of coffee, and a chat. Every day, Mrs. Stainbrook finds a way to help someone who's less mobile and less fortunate than she is.
She does everything. She goes everywhere, helps everybody. I don't know how she does it. Honest to God, I don't. You just can't believe that a person that old can do that much.
So how old is Mrs. Stainbrook? Well, we really couldn't tell you. We couldn't find anyone who really knew except for Mrs. Stainbrook, and she's not saying. Rumor has it she's in her early 80s, although she doesn't seem it. So why does she dedicate most of her time to serving others?
It's just an everyday thing.
You do them from your heart, not for an award or anything. And we learn that we're supposed to serve the Lord, you know.
And the Lord has worked in mysterious ways for Mrs. Stainbrook. Her first husband abandoned her and their young son, leaving Mrs. Stainbrook to carve out a living on her own as a hairdresser. She did find love again, marrying a soldier after World War II. His death in 1975 turned her world upside down.
Well, I felt like giving up, and the neighbors and my family says, you can't give up, you gotta keep going. And there's a lot out there for you to do.
So she grit her teeth and got to work. Mrs. Stainbrook threw herself into volunteering, doing everything from making quilts and lap robes for the poor to becoming historian for the local women's club. Gail Limcomb nominated Mrs. Stainbrook to be one of our 9 Who Care. She calls Stainbrook a role model.
She does little things for people, but it turns out to be a lot of, time and effort on her part.
Walking down the streets of Fairbank, you get a feeling for just what kind of a difference Mrs. Stainbrook has made in her community. For example, here's the Fairbank Public Library. Back in 1980, she helped raise money to buy books for it. Just down the street's the Lutheran church she's belonged to for years. Every Sunday, she bakes cookies for the congregation, and she helps assemble these care packages for the needy that actually go overseas. These are just a few of the things this spry, energetic senior does, touching lives every day, making her one of our 9 Who Care.
Mary Wildenberg is making the grade by volunteering at a West Branch elementary school. TV9's Iowa City reporter Mike Wagner profiles this special woman.
Well, reading has always been important to me. When I was a kid, I used to live a half a block from a branch library, and I spent a lot of time there. And I always enjoyed reading.
Every day, Mary Wildenberg shares her love of letters and pages with the students at Hoover Elementary School in West Branch. But Mary doesn't have her own classroom. She sits in the hallways, and students come to her for 15 to 20 minutes of one-on-one reading.
Some kids don't want to come out and read to me. And then all of a sudden they'll say, well, maybe that's not such a bad idea. So sometimes it's just that they're unsure of themselves.
Teachers say Mary's special attention helps students gain confidence in their reading skills. Some just need more practice. Others just need to know they can do it.
I'll say to them, have you read this book before? And they'll say no. And I said, are you sure? And they'll say, well, yes. And I said, well, you went through that whole book without one mistake. How about that?
If you want to read with Mary, you don't have to have a reading problem. You only need to want to read. Students like Brady Verlo say Mary's help sessions are making a difference.
I get to skip some of my class.
Do you think it makes you a better reader?
Yeah.
How?
I learn. I read.
Mary used to work with children as a nurse for the Head Start program, but a car accident left her paralyzed on her left side, yet it hasn't stopped her from helping children.
Well, like I said, I read in the newspaper that they needed volunteers for something specific, and I called the number and I said, I don't think I can help with that, but is there something else that I could do? And the lady said, well, of course.
Her dedication to making children stronger readers led Lauren Hahnemann to nominate Mary for TV9's 9 Who Care.
Where most people would have considered themselves at a disability, Mary took it and said, I can do this. And that's what she did. She's helping the kids, which she's always loved to do.
Well, volunteering is my job now, because there are not a lot of other things that I can do. So and I think that's important.
Mary's important work helps students feel more important, improving their reading skills along the way.
9 Who Care, a TV9 Show You Care special, has been brought to you by Hardee's, Yonkers, St. Luke's Hospital, and by United States Cellular.
This has been a wonderful night for us here at TV9, to be able to share some wonderful stories of caring and dedication. Each of our 9 Who Care winners you met this evening received $500 to give to their favorite charity. And we want to say a special thank you to all of you out there who give your time to make Eastern Iowa a better place to live. I'm Scott Sanborn. Thanks for joining us, and good night.